What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, as always, Coach Steve. Guys, we are back for another episode today for our Dynasty Rewind today. Coach Gibbs, he'll be joining us shortly. He running a little bit behind on his schedule for the day. We were going to have a big announcement for you, but we're going to save that for next week, unfortunately. But if you didn't see it on our Twitter already, I'll wait before I kind of go nuts about that. But we'll announce that next week. But we do have a fantastic guest on today's show here. Steve, buddy, what is going on, man?
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me on the show, man. It's been too long, obviously. Anytime we get together, it's been too long. But obviously, you've been on the show. I've been on your show here. And it's just great always to chat football with you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've had some recent issues trying to get on each other's show over the last couple of months, but finally we were able to reconnect here now and talk some football today, man.
We were talking golf off air, so I'll just use the phrase. I mean, it's par for the course in this industry. I mean, it's tough sometimes to schedule, podcast, guests and everything. Because I know how it is being a host myself of the Hot Take. So it can be difficult sometimes. But here we are, man. I'm ready to chat it up. I'm ready for the off season. It's a fun time of year, honestly, for us fantasy guys.
I think it is, and it's because we can absorb so much more information in a less quick time frame. During the season, it's like we have to absorb as much as we can real quickly, and if we don't get it, we don't get it. We just got to go roll with it. Now we have that time to absorb everything that just happened this season and really think about a lot of these fantasy players, and that's kind of what we've been doing over this last month or so now with these divisions. So it's great to get you on. But before we do get started for the night, how's everything with the podcast, man? How are you guys doing over there?
Good, man. Me and Josh had a great season. We brought on my longtime friend, Dan Berman, who, I mean, it's honestly incredible. Thrive Fantasy, if you don't know, it's a prop platform. And you're able to, just do about 20, I believe it's 20 picks every week. And, if you rank highly, you're going to win some cash. And Thrive this year, there was some overlay a lot of times with these contests. And our friend, Dr. Berman, took down a lot of contests this year. So Thrive brought us on. We brought on Dan to be our third because I knew that he's very sharp in the DFS streets. Wanted to bring on somebody who potentially could win a lot of cash. And that's what he did this year. I think he took home $17,000 in winnings through Thrive contests, including he won one of the bigger contests on the Super Bowl. Took home $1,000. So there was advantages to be had, and we were trying to help people win all year with it, and it was a great time, man. So that's where we're at. We're in the off season right now. We're going to get to, like I said, like dynasty stuff in the off season. We're going to do a startup. Mock draft pretty soon here. So yeah, man, it's fun. Like I said, for us who play fantasy year round, this time of year is very special in a way because, if you are doing dynasty startups, there's not much more, we love drafting, right?
Of course.
Drafting is like the best part of it. And dynasty startups are probably one of the more fun drafts you could do.
Yes, absolutely, and I'm trying my best not to start another draft. I know I started one recently, but it wasn't a traditional dynasty league because I love to come up with creative ideas to start dynasty leagues, and hopefully I do have one I will be starting sometime in I think May after the draft. People want to do it after the draft, so that's going to be fun. But it is definitely 100% fun to play some startups. It's always great to go get your guys instead of having to trade for them during the actual season. So.
Yeah.
And I think we have Coach Gibbs on the air now. Let's see. Coach Gibbs.
You booted me, man. Why you booting
my bad, brother. What's up, man?
What's going on, guys? Sorry I'm late.
What's up, man?
It's all good, man. It's all
What's
good,
up?
man.
What's up?
Not much, man. Just we're talking some football today, man. You missed the big conversation earlier. We're talking about golf. Had a couple of drinks before while golfing, Didn't do that great today, but, that's why I'm not a professional golfer, so.
Well, just be strong on the back nine or the back half. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, well, maybe
it's
next
good
time.
Advice. It's good advice.
It is a good advice. Maybe next time when it's another nice day in New Jersey. So we'll go from there. So we have a long episode for you guys today. Obviously, if you've been following us, we're doing our Dynasty Rewind. We're doing each division, kind of going over some bigger, important questions for each division and kind of going through that and a dynasty spin to it. So we've done the first 3 divisions of the AFC East, and now we're on our last one, and it's the AFC West. So I'll pull up my slides because that's my new thing now. We got some slides now on the show, which is a lot of fun. And we'll start with the news for the day, guys. And there's not much, and it's mostly surrounded around Tom Brady, really, honestly. I mean, if you haven't heard the rumors of Coach Bruce Arians had some drama with Brady, and then he says, no, that's not true. There were no issues. And then it was brought up again. And then Michael Florio, thinks that Tom Brady could end up landing in the 49ers. It's definitely some interesting takes here. But do you guys believe Brady comes back this season? Like, what is 1 out of 10? What's the take on Brady actually coming back for the 2022 season? Steve, I'll let you go on that, man.
I would put it like 4, a 3 or a 4. I wouldn't think it's likely at all, but I think there's a non-zero chance. If it's not this year, it wouldn't even be the craziest thing if he comes back in 2023. Maybe he takes the year off and, maybe something happens, a situation opens up and he feels like he can get another ring. I mean, that wouldn't be the craziest thing. I think that would maybe be more likely than him coming back this year.
I'm on the same page with you as well. And that, Coach Gibbs, how do you feel about it?
I'm lukewarm. I'll say it's like a 5. Like, obviously, as I'm on the opposite angle. I think as the years digress, I think he will be more likely not to play. But 49ers is a setup for success. Good defense, home roots. Like, it's just looking all there for him. So, like, hopefully he doesn't come back. But Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that would be pretty some big news. He is still under contract with the Bucs, so that would have to be some things to work out if the 49ers were to actually make a splash like that. But yeah, I mean, I think you should definitely be holding on to him in Dynasty. I think I've had 2 of my leagues people drop Tom Brady. I get it, but I quickly went out there and scooped him up because you just don't know. And I think over the next 2 seasons, you should just hold on to him. God forbid he does come back. I mean, it might not be likely, but there is a chance. Tom Brady hasn't gone through August and not played football in over 20 years. You telling me August comes and he doesn't have that itch to come back? We'll find out sure enough. So, but we're going to get into our main topic for the day, guys, and it's the AFC West. And there are so many big people in this division here, so many hard hitters. And we're going to start with one of the division winners, and it was the Kansas City Chiefs this year. And they're probably their biggest asset on their team. Obviously, they spent a lot of money over the next 10 years to have this man, Patrick Mahomes here, guys. And I think going into last season, Patrick Mahomes was a kind of a quarterback in Dynasty. It's like, if you get him, you're going to have to pay up big for him. And he was worth paying up big to get Patrick Mahomes. And we saw at times this year that Superman Patrick Mahomes kind of had some flaws to his overall weekly fantasy game. But Steve, man, is Mahomes worth the investment in getting him, or is he kind of just like packaged with other? Does he stand alone for you in Dynasty?
In Superflex, he's worth it. I think at a certain point with single quarterback leagues, I'm always hesitant to invest in a quarterback. But there are exceptions. The elite guys in Dynasty you want, and I include Lamar Jackson in that category. Kyler showed his ass this year. I'm kind of off on Kyler as far as like how I feel about him right now. But I do want to put him in that. And obviously Josh Allen is in there. So Mahomes, if people are worried about, a chink in the armor here or whatever, I would buy that. I would try to take advantage of that. But I think, in like a super flex league, like Mahomes' value is it's what more do you want in a quarterback in a dynasty league right now? So, yeah, I mean, I think he's worth paying for in a super flex for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's definitely shown us over this 3 seasons that he is a top tier dynasty quarterback. Coach Gibbs, what is your take on the situation?
He's worth every penny you put it into him, I believe. Like, the guy hasn't finished less than 4th in the QB finishes in fantasy, and I guess like out of the last 3 years, I think he finished seventh in one of those years. But still, if I'm getting someone who's putting up top seven numbers and I don't have to worry about it, like, and I know I don't have to worry about it to a degree with Mahomes. Like, sure, he had like some of his bad weeks where he's not really putting up numbers, not getting the touchdowns. But if I'm getting that if I'm getting someone like, I'll say, I don't know. Let's say like Jalen Hurts, like, because he was putting up like sub tier like quarterback one numbers like throughout the season. But if I could get someone with more consistency, I'd rather have Mahomes, like, definitely. So, like, for sure, you sign me up with Mahomes any day of the week. But obviously, like in Superflex, like you're saying, like it's gonna take so much to move him. Like, do you really want to gut your team or kind of like mortgage your future? Yeah, but like if you do it and your team's kind of like ready to be like ready-made for the championship, go ahead and do it. I think it would be worth it.
Right. That's a good point, Gibbs, because like anyone with some sense that has Mahomes is going to be asking for a lot in any circumstance, but especially in Superflex when that quarterback is so valuable. So if you want him in that instance, yeah, it might cost you a pretty penny. So at that point, you really do have to evaluate, of course. But yeah, any chance that you can make your team better, make your team, more competitive than it was before for a championship, because that's what you would be doing if you're moving. It does feel like that would be someone who's set up to win, because you would. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm off on that. Maybe because you would have to move like a pretty key piece. I guess you would probably have to move a wide receiver one, maybe a high draft pick. If you're moving picks, and maybe like some young talent to get a quarterback like Mahomes. Yeah, I think it makes sense to try to make your team better.
Right. And that was kind of like my whole point was like, to me personally, it's like he's a top tier echelon quarterback in Dynasty for sure. But people were, trading, the top 10 kind of quarterbacks and other things to get him. And I think he showed us this year that he falls into a group of many quarterbacks. He's not by himself personally, and this is how I feel. He's not personally by himself on a pedestal. There are other quarterbacks in Dynasty that I think that are in the same category. I don't think he is a guy who is a sure lock, no matter what, top tier by himself guy. He is in a mix about 4 or 5 different quarterbacks. And we saw a lot last year where, personally to me, in some of my dynasties, people trading some of those similar players for Pat Mahomes in that greater fashion. I think that's where the overvaluation for a guy like Mahomes showed us this year that he can have bad games. So up is good if you're looking for that giant step. Evaluate your levels. But him in a similar tier with other quarterbacks who you think could be really good, it might not be worth trading for him.
It'll be interesting, man. I think that this is going to be the year where Kansas City really adds a legitimate option at wide receiver. That's been missing from this team for a little while, and I think more than ever this year they needed that. It's Kelce and Tyreek, and they're good enough, but they need somebody else. And if that happens, then I think that you'll see less bad games from Mahomes. Like this year, I think was an outlier compared to what we're going to see for the next 2-3 years.
Right.
It was devastating to your team if you spend high capital on Mahomes, especially in single quarterback leagues. I don't think I would bet on that not happening for the next 2 years and the frequency that it did this year.
Right. Exactly. So no, I love the point on that. So we lost Coach Gibbs. Hopefully he gets back into our stream at some point soon here. So let's head over to the next section here, and it's his core of skilled players here now. And obviously Travis Kelce, he's 32 years old. He's going to be 33 years old. Tyreek Hill is pushing 28 years old now. And I was going to let Gibbs go first on this one, Steve. But is it time to sell out from under these guys? Is it time to get rid of Travis Kelce? Is it time to get rid of Tyreek Hill at their peak value? Or are you just kind of holding on to these guys for the long haul because they can end up just being good fantasy assets no matter how much older they get?
Yeah, I would definitely be willing to try to move both. See what you can get. Not necessarily try to move them. Let me rephrase. Fish them out there and see what is out there, because I think Kelce's very interesting in that if you can get an Andrews, maybe do it. Maybe someone's going to value Kelce heavily and they think that getting him and, trading straight up for Andrews, or maybe you can get a little bit more. Someone like that, but it's going to be really tough because obviously the advantage that Kelce gives you. So he might be more of a hold than Tyreek, where you can maybe float him out there and see what you can get. Because if you can get like let's say a first round pick and somebody like Michael Pittman and maybe a first round pick, and you're eyeing somebody in the first round, like all of a sudden you're doubling up on receivers that if you take that chance, maybe you get Pittman, who he has a very good next 3 years, depending on what happens with the quarterback situations, of all unknown. But it's just an example of maybe you can double up there with Tyreek and get like 2 really good receivers, something like that.
And that's like a nice evaluation take on kind of both these players here. Coach Jibbs, my friend, how do you feel about these superstars here? Are you on the boat of trying to get them off your team, or do you think they just provide long-term value for you?
I'm feeling better about these two than my internet provider, so just to say the least. But for those two, they're pretty interesting. Like, because like normally I would be like trying to sell off like a player like Kelce, who's provided such substantial like value in the tight end position, and he's, like you said, he's 32 years old, and it's kind of like that good window where you kind of want to like get off a rising, like an emerging star like that, but it's a tight end, and like tight ends are like a dime a dozen. I don't know if I could like do it as like I can't do it soon, but like I'll probably want to ride like one more year with them. But like I think the float Hill around. Like if I could get Hill and I could kind of package them into like one of those young elite wide receivers that have been coming out like the last 2 years, like a Jefferson or like a Chase, for instance, I'll probably try to dabble in that though, because like a speedster like Hill, obviously like he's going to slow down eventually. 5 times undefeated, and he's going to have as much separation. Like he's not as big as the other receivers and such like that. So that could be like something that like lowers his efficiency as he gets older. But these guys are like elite though. So like don't want to like drop them off your team for nothing.
Right, and that's the important thing in Dynasty, is to never sell short on players that you value very high. And when it comes to Travis Kelce, I think unless you're getting Mark Andrews, like Steve said, or Kyle Pitts, you might as well just hold on to him and kind of ride him out, because, how hard is it to find a young tight end to really step up? I mean, unless you're taking shots on Cole Kmet, Pat Freiermuth, I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get from them. At least Travis Kelce has done it, and if he follows anything like Tony Gonzalez's career, he'll give you maybe 3 or 4 more seasons of 800-yard seasons, which is not bad if you're, by the time in a year or two when you start going competing, you have a tight end that can do something decent. So unless you're getting one of those two guys, I'm just going to hold on to Kelce. Tyreek Hill, yeah, I kind of like to package him and try to get someone younger. But again, don't oversell. Don't sell it for short. I mean, Tyreek Hill is only going to be 27 years old or 28. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he's someone who's just going to continue over the next few seasons to be an elite level. And if you aren't liking what you get, you can't get that young talent, then just hold on to him. And he's going to be a tie to Pat Mahomes for the next 3 or 4 seasons. So
I have something to throw out real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's say you made the playoffs, you lost in the first round this year. You're a dynasty team. Would you trade Tyreek Hill for Jalen Waddle, and a first-round pick in dynasty?
Where is the first-round pick at?
Let's say it's 104.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%.
So that's very possible to do.
It is. It is. I mean, people are really high on Waddle right now, and I love it. So it might be hard, but if you're getting that package, you're getting younger. Take the less high power offense, but he's still going to be the number 1, and you're getting a top 4 pick. Which, again, this draft class isn't that great, but there are some guys in the top heavy that will provide you with some elite fantasy production for the future. So absolutely great pick. That would be a great trade. All right. So let's over to somebody on the Chiefs that isn't as explosive or as high power as some of these other guys here, and it's Mecole Hardman. And he's just been a guy, I know in Madden, Jibbs loves him in Madden, but in fantasy right now, we've been waiting for him to take the next level, and it just never seems like it. And he's going the last year of his contract now. He's actually had a career high this season in every possible category here besides touchdowns. Jibs, I'll let you kind of go first on this. Is this the last shot of Mecole Hardman, or has that passed already? And what are you doing with Mecole if you can?
It's passed already. I honestly believe he's just another one of those role players that you see on the Chiefs offense. I think they're all interchangeable, to be honest, at this point behind Tyreek Hill. So I don't know if you're going to be fetching, like, I guess where was it going, like second round value in the rookie drafts when he was coming out. I don't think you're going to get that anymore. But like maybe he could be like a nice little add-on piece for you in a trade just to get another player of higher value that you like done. So like that's the only thing I can see on Mecole Hardman, unfortunately.
Yeah,
It shows up in the playoffs, but like it just doesn't seem to happen during the regular season.
Yeah, unfortunately, our fantasy seasons rely on the regular season to really help our value. But Steve, man, are you kind of on the same boat? Is there no hope at this point for you when it comes to Mecole Hardman in fantasy?
Yeah, Gibbs kind of put it pretty well when he said he's just a role player on the Chiefs offense, and he's kind of like a guy that the Chiefs have liked for years, So yeah, he's just that at this point. I think he had a decent season. If he gets into the end zone a little bit more, maybe we're looking at that fantasy finish and we like it a little bit more. Can he do this again? Yeah, he can do this again this year. But again, like I said, I just have a feeling that this year, based on what we saw with the Chiefs offense, they're actually going to get somebody who's going to be like the legitimate wide receiver too, which just hasn't happened for this team in a long time. So if that happens, that'll really kind of see, we'll see the writing on the wall right there.
Right. And I kind of like both of your guys' take on the matter here. And at the end of the day, guys, and I think Jib said it best here when it comes to using Mecole Hardman as an extra piece in a trade, because no one's going to just want Mecole Hardman at this point. And he's shown us that he can't be a reliable fantasy quarterback, only 3 games over top 36 finishes all season. He's just kind of an added piece, like, hey, like I'll give you a piece of the Chiefs offense here and see if that will just sweeten up the pot of what we're trying to do here. And maybe someone will bite on that. That's, I think, the best way to kind of describe Mecole Hardman as an upside offensive piece than an actual fantasy talent.
Yeah, or on the flip side, if you're making the deal and it's like you got it done, and it's like, just throw in Mecole Hardman also. Like you said, nobody wants him.
Yeah.
But you just get him all of a sudden, and then who knows, but maybe someone might just throw him in as a piece, and all of a sudden you have him, and he's just there. You don't have to worry about it. If you don't have to play him, he's a lot better for your team.
Exactly. And we don't know. At this point, we kind of understand that maybe he's not a real asset to be consistent, but we've seen we've seen players kind of wait until they're 5 or 6 years to really explode. We've seen it before. So yeah, that's another way to look at it on the other side of a trade spectrum. All right. So let's head over to the next division here, and it's the Las Vegas Raiders. And we'll start with Josh Jacobs. And Josh Jacobs, guys, talk about a season for him. Someone who kind of was just a frustration fantasy asset early on in the season. And then Kenyon Drake goes down, and he really takes the next level in his game here. And he's right now kind of being personally underrated in fantasy, and he's becoming an asset people want to kind of trade for on the down low. But Jib, I know, Steve, I'm going to let you go first on this one. How do you feel about Josh Jacobs? He's someone that is underrated for you in fantasy?
Yeah, if he keeps, we've seen him just increase in targets every year now. So if that keeps going up, which it could, 64 targets, if he gives you 64 targets in the season every year, you're going to be really happy with that. That was the threshold that we were really looking at. What can he get to about 60 targets? And I don't think that's going away. I don't know what Kenyon Drake's contract is like, but he still was getting targets with Drake healthy. So I'm not too concerned about that. So yes, I do think he's underrated. I think that he could be a nice buy for you in Dynasty.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think he showed us that. We'll see what happens with Drake, but he showed us with a bigger workload that he can be very impressive for fantasy. But Jibs, are you on the same, path as us as an underrated asset that could end up being very big for you in fantasy?
Oh yeah, I even got a share Josh Jacobs this offseason when I swooped him in. But I like it because like even though he's like wildly inconsistent and he like kind of is like a touchdown dependent guy at sometimes, but I do like what he did this year with his targets. Like I believe he had like 54 receptions, 64 targets. And like I know Hunter Renfrow and Waller basically are like the top two dogs in that offense, but I think like if another year under his belt, I think he'd become like that nice third option that could be consistent for Derek Carr to lean on, because obviously they're still trying to get Braylon Edwards involved, up speed on the offense. And then I know who'd have was Zay Jones kind of emerged late. So, we're not going to know who's going to be like the main cogs of the offense, but I think Josh Jacobs, he leads basically the team in rushing attempts. And then even when Kenyon Drake was like kind of having a couple good games, he wasn't getting that much run. So I think he's pretty much a workhorse, but it's just, can he get all the touchdowns? That's the only thing. But I love him as because everyone wants all the glitz and glamour. I think Josh Jacobs is like that bunch pail guy that no one wants, that you can get for cheaper.
Right. I mean, he's scored 7 touchdowns each of his first 3 seasons, so it's been pretty good. My only concerns is what Josh McDaniels does to the offense now that he's the coach. Does he follow that Bill Belichick committee approach where he brings in a third down passing back and kind of takes his 64 targets away from Josh Jacobs? That's my only concern. Hopefully it doesn't happen here, but I feel like people are so down on Josh Jacobs that he's going to see the rushing workload and probably the goal line opportunity in the offense, which goal lines usually mean touchdowns, which touchdowns usually mean great fantasy points. So he's still to me, he's that underrated guy, but I'm not sure he's going to have that high passing target that we saw this coming season. So we'll see how it works, but definitely a good underrated option for an RB2 option for you.
Also, think about it. Like 2 years ago, after his rookie season, like everyone wanted the house for him, and he's just kind of been stirred through the mud. And look at his value now. I think that's just basically perfect time to jump in.
Right. No, definitely. All right. So over to a teammate of his and Hunter Renfrow, who blew up this season in fantasy football, finished wide receiver 11. Fantastic slot wide receiver here. And we know the Patriots system has dealt with some good slot receivers over their time there. Now Josh McDaniels is in, Vegas right now. Is he a top 20 wide receiver moving forward, Coach Gibbs, or was this just a fluke season for him?
I think he's a top 20 wide receiver. I don't know about like Dynasty, like in totality, but like he's basically the guy who moves the chains on the offense. He's basically, they say third and Renfrow for a reason. And like 100 targets, 117 targets. So we've seen like him have his career year without basically Henry Ruggs. We know Waller was kind of in and out of the offense, but still, I think Hunter Renfrow has basically the avenue to get enough volume to be a top 20 receiver. So that's why he's a top 20 for me.
Okay. I respect your opinion on that for sure. So, Steve, man, do you agree with Coach Gibbs? Are you in the top 20 for him, or do you believe it was kind of fluky with him this year?
Yeah, it was tough just because Waller was out so often. Once Waller was back, we still saw the same thing, though. So it's not like, that went away when Waller came back. I don't think it's going away. I don't know about top 20, but I think that his draft value will be interesting. I don't have ADP in front of me, but,
oh my God,
he's probably going to be high for like redraft. He probably might be too high. I would assume he's going to be, but can he be like that fringe wide receiver 2 from season to season? I think so. Yeah, I think he could be fringe like top 24. I'm scared. I'm hesitant to say top 20, but I'll definitely say he's a top 24 receiver next year.
Okay, I could simmer down and agree with that.
I think he's a bit close. It's going to be pretty close. He's definitely a wide receiver 3. He's definitely a wide receiver 3.
Right, of course, absolutely. He's definitely a very strong wide receiver 3. I can't put him as a wide receiver 2 personally. I really want to see what happens this offseason, because I know I hate to speculate on what happens, but the fact that the Raiders add an elite wide receiver is likely this offseason, hopefully. And I can't imagine them just going in the season with Renfrow and Waller as their top 2 options. I feel like they have to bring somebody else in. Again,
Drake London,
that'd be nice for sure. But we'll see what happens. To me, I have him as a big sell high right now if someone's willing to pay up for him. I don't know if people are buying it. That's the thing. So you're kind of stuck with him and hope that McDaniels offense features Hunter Renfrow. And he's a good wide receiver. Don't get me wrong. It's just that can it be consistent over his career? And that's something that I'm still unsure about. So,
yeah.
All right. So let's head over to their quarterback situation. And Derek Carr, who's rumored to get $40 million this season and a new possible contract here. And he started off the season really hot, and then he kind of fell apart a little bit in the end of the season. Really didn't, on a per game basis, kind of really made you just pull your hair out after you probably traded for him midseason like I did. But Steve, is Derek Carr for you? Is he someone that can still show us more with it in this new look offense they're going to provide for us this year? Or have we seen the best of Derek Carr at this point?
It felt like the first half or like the first 4 or 5 games of last year was like that was the best you might get out of him, because he was like up there in terms of like yards per game for a quarterback position for a little while. I think I'm worried about that the hype is going to be too much with Josh McDaniels coming in. People are going to think it's going to be this high power offense. It could be, but they will need more weapons if that's going to be the case. They're not going to be able to get by with, Zay Jones and Brandon Edwards. They're not, hardly using. So yeah, they're going to need to bring in a little bit more if he's going to do anything. But I can't get excited about Derek Carr. I'm never a Derek Carr guy. That's just who I am. I'm not a Derek Carr guy in fantasy.
I don't think a lot of people are, honestly. Coach Gibbs, what about you, my friend? Are you a Derek Carr guy, or we're not there?
I'm not a Derek Carr guy. Like, I just don't know what's up with the guy. Like, I feel like every year, besides like the MVP season, like the guy just, like you said, comes out the gate hot, and then like he just turns into a pumpkin by like wintertime. Late January games, I don't know. He can't play in the cold. I don't know what it is with him, but like obviously he could show us more. Like that he has, we've seen him reach the ceiling to a point. Can he get back up there? We don't know, but like hopefully, like you said, the Raiders get him more weapons, and then obviously if Josh McDaniels' second chance as a coach goes well, hopefully he gets Derek Carr back to his MVP ways. But until then, I don't want nothing to do with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I definitely made a couple trades mid-season for him, and it definitely hurt me a little bit. But I just don't see another level where we're seeing Derek Carr. Yeah, he's got a lot of yardage, and he's put up big yardages over his career, which is good. But the most important thing is the touchdowns, and you're getting 23 touchdowns this season. That's not really high-end QB1 numbers. I think you're looking at him as a safe, right outside the top 12 quarterback who can help you out in a couple weeks, but eventually over a season long will just hurt your fantasy value in your roster. So I think we've seen the best of Derek Carr. I don't think Derek Carr is going to provide a bigger level in this offense, or the offense is going to take a step where they're averaging 35 a game or having that Kansas City like Los Angeles Chargers or Rams like offense. They're not going to have that high scoring offense. I think they're going to be kind of a middle of the pack team, and Derek Carr is going to be a middle of the pack quarterback over your dynasty seasons. So, all right. So let's head over to the next team here. A team I just mentioned a second ago, the Los Angeles Chargers.
They're doing all right.
They're doing pretty good here with their quarterback situation. And Coach Gibbs, Justin Herbert, man, is he part of that elite group that I kind of mentioned early on, the Mahomes, the Allens? Now, is he part of that? No doubt moving forward.
I will say, yeah, and it's kind of puzzles me to say it because I'm obviously in the camp of like the mobile quarterbacks are usually like kings, maybe like during redrafts and like all that crap. But for you to have a guy like Justin Herbert, basically, to say the least, like he could be another one of these generational talents to lead your quarterback, your dynasty team for another 10 years, to say the least, like it's looking good in his camp. So 30 touchdowns back-to-back years, like this guy, 2-to-1 pass to touchdown to interception ratio. Coach wants to go for it on the fourth down all the time, get you some more fantasy numbers. Like what can you ask for? And like I love Herbert, so yeah, I don't want to gush over him anymore. I'll say he gives some rushing numbers too. Like modest, like 260, 50 yards per game per season. So Dolphins should have picked him.
Yeah, well, you can't go back on that. So, but I can't disagree that he's been a great fantasy asset for us over the last 2 seasons. Steve, my man, how are you on Herbert? Is he in that top 3 now for you? Is he in that top 5, whatever you want to call it, in fantasy dynasty quarterbacks?
Yeah, he really is. I mean, he's elite when it comes to dynasty assets right now at the quarterback position. And look, 300 rushing yards. Hey, man, I'm not mad at it. You're going to tackle 300. You give him 300 a year. If you're throwing 5,000 passing yards, yeah, give me an extra 300. That's great. I mean, he obviously has wheels. He showed it a couple times this year. I mean, he had that one game, right, against Pittsburgh, 90 rushing yards was crazy. I mean, he was getting loose on these guys, and it reminds you of Josh Allen to a certain extent. He's not as athletic, but he is big like Josh Allen. So, can he get more than 300 rushing yards in a year? I think he can. I think he can get like 400, 450. And then you're talking about, okay, yeah, he's not a mobile quarterback, but he just gave me 450 on top of 5,000 plus. I mean, he does. That is the extra you might need when you're talking about differentiating the 3 quarterback 4, quarterback 3. So yeah, he's that elite right now. It's tough to say what number he is, but he's up there with Allen and Mahomes. He's up there.
I'm on the same page with you guys. He is definitely in that top 5 discussion for sure. He should be in there 100%. I mean, what he's done over the first 2 seasons of his career has been nothing short but fantastic. All-star level kind of production here, especially for fantasy football. I mean, you see him when he's on fire. I mean, he is just dominating your fantasy team here. It will be interesting to see how the offense looks if a guy like Mike Williams leaves and some of the other pieces on the offense, and see how that affects his overall game. But you're looking at a guy who had, a lot of question marks by throwing the ball, but he cleared that up in the first game of his career. I mean, he is a guy that in Dynasty you want to hold on to. And if you got him on a discount, which more than likely you did, you're sitting pretty for the next decade with a guy like Justin Herbert right now at quarterback. All right, so over to his wide receivers here. That is a pending free agent right now in Mike Williams, guys. Steve, I'm going to let you go first on this. Are we buying the Mike Williams breakout for his future fantasy seasons, or was this the peak of his career right here?
Yeah, I mean, if you can guarantee that he's going to be with the Chargers for the next 5 years, then that's something different than if he were to leave, because the Chargers, complete opposite of the Raiders, they give the offense weapons, so you're talking about they're already bringing in guys that if, Mike Williams were to leave, we saw it last year when both Williams and Allen were out, other pieces stepped up. Josh Palmer is a really good receiver. And I think if Mike Williams left, this team wouldn't be hurting as bad, than other situations where maybe a receiver would leave their team. However, Mike Williams is great for Justin Herbert. To have that combination of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen for Herbert in particular is very nice and you add in Ekeler. It's very nice for Herbert as a whole. For Williams in particular, I got to see what's going on, how, with his contract, because do we have contract numbers in front of us? He's a free agent right now, Mike Williams.
Mike Williams is a free agent, yes. 100%.
So yeah, I would love to wait. If he's on my team right now, I gotta wait and see what happens with Mike Williams.
Yeah, no, he is definitely a tricky situation for sure. Coach Gibbs, my friend, are you buying the breakout? Steve already said that if he stays in with the Chargers, it looks kind of good for him. But if he, moves on, does that breakout follow him?
I think he's better suited with the Chargers. Like the grass ain't greener on the other side in some instances. And he could go say for instance, he could go to another team and he could be like Corey Davis for the Jets, just missing time, doing this, get contract, get paid, whatever, seek the money. But if you could stay home, the Chargers I know they're not the most notorious franchise for actually playing their players when they want to, but they have a lot of cap space. So I don't see like why not. Like look what Joe Burrow did with the Cincinnati Bengals. Go get my man. If Justin Herbert wants his guy to stay there, you stick with your guy. And I think if he stays with the Chargers, I think he's gonna have. I don't think he's gonna have like as crazy numbers as he did last year, but I think he could kind of simmer down and be more of a respectable, I guess, low end wide receiver too. But he's like you guys said, he's an interesting case because like you could like jump in the situation now, but you definitely don't know what you're gonna get out of the bag.
Right, and I think the best way to use Mike Williams is a guy is kind of wait and see what happens this off season. I don't think he's a sell high at the moment because what he failed to do the second half of the season here. You see, average 5 targets, just 2 touchdowns outside the top 25 wide receivers. People remember those kind of things at the end of the season here, unfortunately. And I think once he signs back with the Chargers, for me personally, I'm selling on him. I mean, I like what I saw this year. It was great. How does it stay consistent? I'm concerned it doesn't. And we've seen Mike Williams kind of struggle to put it all together on a year-to-year basis, whether it's the yards one year, the touchdowns one year, and then he consistently gets injured. And he was injured this season here. He scares me as a long-term contributor. And I think if he signs with the Chargers, sell him off and sell the hype with him and Herbert again. If he goes to another team, it might be harder. Like if he ends up with the Raiders, like does he really possess that high-end value that he was with the Chargers? I don't see it the same. So it's either kind of hold and see what happens and hope for the best kind of with Mike Williams. But I love for him to continue that success, but I'm not buying it fully yet. All right, so over to the last player on the Chargers here, and it's Austin Ekeler, guys. And Austin Ekeler really stepped up as a fantasy wide receiver this year. There were a lot of questions about him as a goal line back, or can he sustain playing a full season where he sees the big workload, and he showed that he can handle a pretty decent workload for sure, and he can score touchdowns every which way, no matter where it is. And, is he, to you guys, Jibs, I'll let you go first on this one. Is he in that conversation for you as a top 5 dynasty RB now, based off what you're seeing with everyone else in the league now? He's still somewhat young. He's on a great offense, and he's being involved in the passing game like no other. Is he in that top 5 category for you?
I'll say he is for this year, and for me, like he obviously showed it with his stats last year. His receiving work, his rushing ability. There's not that much talent behind him either, so I don't expect none of that to go away from him. He's playing with a good quarterback, but I think it also has to do with like the state of the running back position. Like you have guys like Zeke, you have Tony Pollard emerging, low efficiency. Kamara, there's no quarterback. Like he really didn't have much of a great year last year. Barkley's not doing anything for you. Christian McCaffrey's kind of dinged up. Derrick Henry's getting older. So, like, the state of the running back position, there's a lot of moving pieces. You got, like, some young guys that you like better, too. So, like, I think based off, like, the way I do it for Dynasty, I think Ekeler would be a top 5 running back in my current scenarios right now.
I love it. I love it for sure. I mean, I have him in a bunch of places, and I'm very thrilled about it. Steve, man, over to you, buddy. Does Austin Ekeler fit your top 5 RB category right now?
Yeah, I think he's there. He's probably like 4 or 5 in Dynasty right now. I'm kind of viewing him as Tyreek Hill of like the running backs right now, in the sense that you can say for the next 2 years, he's probably going to be a top 5 asset for you. But it's not out of the realm of discussion to start looking, because he is 26. And let's say, like, I mean, he was kind of – did he play all 16 games this year? I think he did.
No.
He
did? I thought he got hurt.
He was out with COVID, maybe? I'll look.
He did miss. He missed the Houston game.
Okay. Right, because he played 16, not 17. Right. Mm-hmm. 17 games. So, anyway, what my point is, there might be a situation where you could get younger and not necessarily, like, worse. Because if you got Jalen Waddle in that package earlier, you might be feeling pretty good. What if you could get like DeAndre Swift for Ekeler and then maybe a piece with Swift? I mean, right now, like, I view Swift as a very good asset, like elite asset. He's not a top 5 dynasty running back right now, but what he can be is Austin Ekeler. You know what I mean? He can be Austin Ekeler of last year, what we just saw. He can be that. So I think that he is in that top 5 discussion. He's definitely like, if you want to start looking though and see what you could get for him, I think it's not a bad idea.
I can agree with it, honestly. I think, if you guys haven't mentioned me say, look at value of players, when's the best time to sell? This is a great time to sell Austin Ekeler. If you're not a team who is automatically, that you're in that competition for the finals next year, Austin Ekeler is a good time to go out and trade him for his highest possible value, because next year it'll be 27. Who wants to trade for a 27-year-old running back? Not a single fantasy owner wants to say that they're going to want to trade for at that peak value. This year, you might be able to get away with it because he was so electric last year, and his value in the passing game makes so much sense. 70 receptions, 50 each over the last 3 years. He is someone right now, it's a great sell high. I mean, if you have to hold on to him, you hold on to him, but he's going to provide you with top 5 fantasy numbers, at least I would say probably this year and maybe next year here too. So he is a good fantasy asset to own. And he's also a great fantasy asset to trade now and get, like Steve said, a guy like Swift and plus, or someone else plus right now. All right. And I believe that is the last Chargers here. And we got our last team of the night here, guys, the Denver Broncos in here. And they are somewhat of a mess. And we'll start with their tight end situation because they have so many young players. And we'll start with Noah Fant. And Noah Fant coming out, he did not finish tight end 2. He finished tight end 12, guys. Sorry about that mix up in there. But he is someone since coming out in the 2019 draft who was just so as athletic ability, electric, someone who was like could possibly be that next top tier lead tight end, but has kind of been in that low end tight end 1 category here. And Steve, can Noah Fant still reach that elite level talent?
Definitely. He really can. And so, we saw the ankle injury that's bothered him definitely this past year, but I think it also bothered him at the end of the 2020 season. So now we're talking about like 2 years of an ankle injury kind of like, hobbling him throughout the season. And he still ended up putting up decent numbers. And it's, it's a shame, because you're looking at it and you're like, it's just not doing anything for me. This isn't jumping off the page. He's not Mark Andrews. He's not even, TJ Hawkinson right now. But that all changes if they get a quarterback, and it'll change fast. It's kind of, they use 2 tight ends. So that's kind of an issue. So they're going to use Alberto, who's very good and played very well this year. And a lot of times, he was a good option and better than a hobbled Noah Fant. So that's one thing to maybe be concerned about. But it only takes a quarterback for him to go from tight end 12 to like tight end 6, 7.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I think there's a lot of like variables to his career moving forward here. And I think a lot of it comes down to the quarterback situation. But Coach Gibbs, where are you at on Noah Fant right now for Dynasty? Is he someone that you are trying to buy into because he can reach that level, or is he not there for you?
I know I like him as a player, and he definitely has the talent to be a great tight end in the NFL. But for me, I'm just kind of turned off with the abundance of wide receiver weapons they have available, all signed up. They have a Albert O behind them. There's a surplus of weapons. Javonte Williams when they're involved. So, like, obviously the quarterback needs to be fixed, and like, I'm just out on it because like I'll be sourpuss when I'm like someone else nice comes in there, and then like everyone's just like cashing in on Noah Fant shares because they bought him cheap right now. But I don't want nothing to do with it because still, even if someone does come there, he still has to play sometimes even third fiddle us on a Sunday.
Right, exactly. And I'm kind of in the middle when it comes to Noah Fant right now. His value moving forward will really depend on who plays quarterback over the next 3 or 4 seasons for him. I mean, he's a good buy low option right now because I feel like a lot of fantasy owners are kind of down on him. They're like, okay, we haven't really seen that next level step, so people might be more willing to trade him. I actually just traded away Michael Gallup to get Noah Fant right now because I had literally no single tight end. And I thought that was a good option, a good risk to take because we don't know what the quarterback situation is. God forbid Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson goes there. That's going to raise his value through the roof. And he will probably be untradeable for the next 2 seasons after that. So it's a good time to buy Noah Fant because I think he has the talent. But it comes with a lot of risk because you just don't know who the quarterback situation is. So you have to kind of take that into consideration when acquiring. But trying to sell him off right now is probably the wrong idea. All right, so let's talk about someone we all really love in Denver, at least, and it's Javonte Williams. And I did not change the photo for him, so good for me,
Nice. He's
It's
looking
no
rough.
fan again.
That's awesome.
But Javonte Williams, as we all know, was former second-round pick and had a split time this coming season with Melvin Gordon. Now Melvin Gordon is a free agent, and we don't know what's going on with that yet, but he is a free agent. So, and I believe there was a rumor that said on Twitter somewhere that Javonte Williams is the RB1 on this team, no matter who they bring back or bring into the backfield. So you're assuming that he's going to be the RB1 next season here. Now, young running back, Coach Jibbs, I'm trying to remember what question I had here. Hold on. What was the question? Is his breakout coming this season? Are you expecting a big breakout season from Javonte Williams?
Well, I didn't know Melvin was a free agent, so Jesus Christ. Like, I was about to just be like, well, like, Denver still uses, like, the 50-50 committee running backs, and they've done it for 4 years and all that good stuff. But, goddamn, if they give – I think Javonte could have a pretty good breakout if they give him 10% more of a snap share than whoever is the second guy there. Anything greater than that, like, if it's 20%, if he's throwing a 70% running back share over some scrub – collecting peanuts on third down, oh my God, he's going to be filthy next year. But it all depends because historically it's been split, and that's a large sample size.
Right, and I think you're right. I mean, Melvin Gordon has a chance to come back still. There's no reason why he wouldn't want to come back for sure. Steve, are you into the breakout of Javonte Williams no matter what happens this season?
Yeah, I am. I think that he's somebody in redraft who I want to walk away with because of that chance of him going crazy. Even with a 50% workload, that he's an RB2. All right. Well, if he gets more than that, then we don't know the ceiling. And that's what's great about fantasy when you're drafting players. I want the unknown a lot of times. And, we think we know that it's going to happen eventually. We have no idea. It could be like Gibbs is saying. I mean, the 50-50 split might not necessarily go away. Why would it? They have no reason not to bring back Melvin Gordon and split both of them. But even if that happens, that might be more reason to bank on Javonte and bank on everyone else that wants to go away from Javonte. All of a sudden, Melvin Gordon, who is 28 years old, pulls a hamstring, and then it's Javonte. And I think you can not bank on that, but it's very likely when one older running back is going to go down and then the young buck is there and he's going to grind it out and be the workhorse. That's a very likely scenario, even if they bring back Melvin Gordon. So I'm going after him. And I think that I would even almost prefer it in a way because I know that will drive down his value, where if Melvin Gordon is gone, you can forget getting Javonte Williams because he's going to be a second-round pick.
Right. And let me bring this trade scenario here for you guys. Javonte Williams, a first in this draft, let's say a late first and a mid first in 23 for Jonathan Taylor. Would you give up Jonathan Taylor to get Javonte Williams? And let's say 2 mid first round picks, one this year, one next year. Is his upside in Javonte Williams enough for you to go after him and get rid of a guy like Jonathan Taylor? No, it's not there for you,
Not
Steve?
for me. No,
Okay.
I would keep Taylor.
Okay, I just wanted to see how high his value for you guys were on that note there with Jonathan Taylor as the obviously number one dynasty option right now. But yeah, guys, I mean, if you can acquire him, you definitely should. It might be harder now, but he has that talent to be a top 5 guy. He's not there currently right now, obviously, but he has that talent. We'll see if it comes about, but he's worth buying into if you can. That's what I'm kind of saying. Javonte Williams is definitely worth buying into. All right, so over to the last topic of the night, guys, the wide receiver room, which is probably the most crowded room in terms of wide receivers outside of Dallas, of course. But you have Courtland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, who we're all going to highlight here. You even have KJ Hamler if you like him. But out of these top 3 wide receivers, who is the bargain for you that provides the highest ceiling still for you guys? Coach Gibbs, who is out of this bunch here, who can you think you can get on the lowest value that will provide you the highest possible ceiling?
Sutton, I think,
Why Sutton?
because he's not going to be as high in value as Jerry Jeudy coming out of the draft a year ago. I'm a huge fan of Patrick as well, but like I don't think his ceiling can be Sutton's ceiling. So
Yeah, I love that, honestly. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, that's tough between Sutton and Jeudy as far as, well, highest ceiling to me is Jeudy, and I think you can definitely get him at a discount. But Sutton has shown, that he can be like the wide receiver one on his team. And I think that he has the ability and the skill set to even be like the main target, even with Jerry Jeudy. But assuming like the best, like, which would be like, I guess, Aaron Rodgers coming in, I think Judy's ceiling would be just so much higher with a quarterback with a talented arm that wants to drive the ball down the field, or just at least knows how to get a talented receiver the ball in space underneath. Judy's the kind of guy who can take, a 10-yard slant and take it to the house, like where Sutton isn't necessarily like that. So that's why I would say the higher ceiling with Jeudy. And I still think that he's a great, like, try to get him now in Dynasty for sure.
Right, absolutely. And I think all of them are good values to obtain right now in Dynasty. If you're looking to grab wide receivers, the unknown of what if Aaron Rodgers, what if Watson, what if Russell Wilson comes there, all of these guys' values are going to shoot through the roof once that happens here. So getting any one of these three wide receivers makes sense. I can agree with Steve that like Jerry Jeudy probably still has the highest ceiling, but he was a former first-round pick for a lot of people. So him getting traded, people might not be as willing. Sutton, I think, might provide you might be able to get him for very cheap and provide similar, maybe not as big as Jeudy, but similar ceiling that could probably provide like a low-end wide receiver one, high-end wide receiver two level to his game here. So I think any one of these guys you can't go wrong with. To me, Sutton, I think, provides the best value for your bargain, but all these guys are fantastic here for sure. But we'll see. Denver could be a very hot spot for fantasy owners in just a month from now. So we'll see how that kind of role plays over the next few months. So, all right. So that's going to end our episode tonight, guys. We thank you so much for listening in. Steve, buddy, you were a great guest as always, man. It was a pleasure having you on. If there's anything you want to mention about your guys' stuff, this is your time now, my friend.
Yeah, man, it's the Hot Take Podcast. And again, thanks for having me on. Like I said, it's always a pleasure. I love chatting it up with you guys. But yeah, it's the Hot Take Podcast. We're wherever you listen to pods. And then we also go live. And, like I said, we're going to be doing some startup mocks soon. We've got fun off-season content ahead. And then I'm going to be, doing the Roto Underworld World Famous Draft Kit. I'm going to do a couple player profiles. The only one I did last year was Deebo Samuel. That ended up working out well. I was very happy about that.
Hey, love it. I'm definitely going to check it out this year as I need to know some more players for next season. So. But yeah, again, Steve, we appreciate you so much for jumping on. It's great to have you on. We'll definitely have to get you back on in the future. And Kyle, my friend, if you're listening out there, man, thanks for tuning in as always, brother. Loved your little take on there. I would be okay giving up JT for Javonte 223 first. Personally, everyone might feel a little different about it, but I love the trade talk for sure. Coach Gibbs, anything else you want to mention before we head out tonight?
No, man, I miss football.
Yeah, it's 7 months ago now, boys.
It's a long, dark winter right now.
Yeah, thankfully, there's a summertime in between, so keep us sane for sure. But we thank you guys for all listening in, and once again, we'll be back next week with our hopefully big breaking news, and we'll keep on going with these division rewinds. So thank you guys all for listening. Tune in until next time, guys, and have a great one.